Welcome to the She Suite Society, a community where women from all backgrounds come together to share their stories, support one another, and reveal the unfiltered reality of our lives. I'm your host and empowerment Sherpa, Dahlia, and this podcast exists to give voice and space to women whose experiences might otherwise go unheard. Today's episode is a little different because I'm sitting down with my close friend Tabitha Langley for what feels more like one of our regular catch-up conversations than a formal interview. Sometimes the most revealing conversations happen when you're just talking with someone who knows you well, and Tabitha is definitely one of those people who sees things clearly and isn't afraid to call it like it is. What I love about Tabitha is how she's managed to stay true to herself in a world that constantly tries to reshape us. She's someone who describes her job as information wrangling, travels internationally for Formula One races, has a library that would make Belle jealous, and can put together furniture better than anyone I know. But beyond all of her interests and talents, she's mastered something many of us struggle with, knowing who she is and refusing to settle for less. Whether you're someone who tends to get overlooked in group settings, struggling to maintain your sense of self in a noisy world, or simply trying to figure out how to stay steady in your values while remaining open-minded, this conversation offers insights that only come from someone who's done the work of truly knowing herself. Though I know your story, people don't know your story. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to get people to know your story. And love to talk about what you do now. It doesn't even encompass who you are or what your capabilities are. So let's talk about a bit about that. Let's start there and then go backwards. So what do you do now? What is your day? Don't go with titles, but what do you do now?
I do a lot of what feels like data entry and wrangling information as people need it. I made that joke recently and I was like, that actually feels like my actual title is information wrangler. It's either entering the information, wrangling it that way, or I have to pull the information out into some kind of report and wrangle it that way. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense as to what I do. And it encompasses a lot more than a title usually would.
And you are someone who what I understand, you're very detail oriented. Is that a fair statement? At work, you are.
I was going to say, it very depends on the situation, but yes, I would say.
I don't know. Your trip planning's pretty detailed.
I can definitely get hung up on details for sure in general.
You're very good at them.
I'm sorry, rephrase. I let them trip me up. I'll get stuck on something and I'm like, oh, I can't get past this until I figure out either where this detail piece fits or does it need to be taken out, and I'll be stuck there. And then I have to walk away for a bit and then come back to it. And usually it didn't magically clear up, but my brain cleared up enough to where then I can move forward. So being detail oriented isn't always a great. So I guess not an easy route, I guess. The better way to phrase that.
Fair enough. Okay.
But there are some places where I'm really not. I'm just going with the flow. Usually it's not in a place where I don't feel the need to take charge. But in a work setting, it feels very much like you're still in the group projects of high school all over again. And no one's willing to jump in and do something. And I'm like, I don't want to be the person, but if I don't, this thing is not getting done. And then will get blamed for it. So,
do you find that true in all the companies you worked at? Because I do.
Absolutely.
One giant project.
More consistent things. That's a giant group project. You say that about this whole country too. It's a group project. We all fail.
You can say that. And fair enough to say that that's one thing school actually taught us, is that in group projects, what role you would have.
That's the real life skill that they taught when we should have been learning about taxes and stuff like that.
How did everyone else in those group projects somehow end up in similar roles and in similar capacities as the rest of us?
Truly, I don't know. Either they know some people, or I guess their charisma gets them really far. I'm wondering if they just probably make a better first impression than those of us that feel like we have to push ourselves to be in a certain position. Other people, oh no, just la-di-da. And they happen to.
They just own it. Yeah. Because they're so good at faking that they know how to do
it. It's the amazing thing, I guess. Mm. And I don't do that. So.
No, I just noticed that, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of company policies too that have been very lenient on holding people's hands and letting them work through things. And
Mhm.
then alternatively, I think we're seeing a lot of it. At least I see it posted all the time on LinkedIn about people vacating their jobs because they're tired of carrying the weight of 3 jobs or whatever
Yeah.
the case. You see that all the time. But you're not your job. You are not that. You
Nope.
also do yoga. You also travel. So let's talk about those two things. What got you into yoga?
I feel like my high school had these, how in elementary school you had those field days where you would do the activities and stuff. In my high school, we did, I forget what the official name was, but it was a full day and you got to pick certain sessions to try out of just different activities or whatever. And yoga was one of them. And I tried it and I enjoyed that. Because I've always been kind of flexible. So I was like, let me try this, see if I like it. And I didn't, that was my first experience with it was in high school. And then left it alone for a while because I did other stuff in between. But then when I moved down to Florida for a couple years, I was like, no, I need to some kind of exercise thing. And I'm not a runner type person. I don't have the knees for that. And I found this yoga studio that was a block away from where I was working at the time at a hotel. And so they had a decent intro offer trial thing, and their monthly payment wasn't too expensive for me at the time. So I tried it and I just fell in love with it. What I feel like a lot of people don't realize is that yoga is pretty much an exercise to teach you how to breathe. It's mostly about the breath. Obviously, you still have the physical aspect to it, but it's more about I never am certain if I actually know how to breathe until I get to a yoga class. Cause I'm like, do I breathe on a normal basis? Cause they have to keep reminding me to breathe. And I'm realizing I am holding a breath. People make that joke in books all the time. Oh, she let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. I feel like that's my normal life. In yoga, it reminds me to breathe.
Well,
In, out.
why do you not remember to breathe?
Genuinely don't know. Does it go back to the details and the general anxiety of it all? But yoga definitely helps remind me to breathe. And then you don't know. And I just like sometimes you get a really good stretch in and it hurts in the best way possible.
Oh, I love
But
that.
it shows me that it's helped show me I'm stronger than I thought I was. I've never been the most athletic person, but I am stronger than you would think, or than I would think at least, just because of the specific yoga poses and how long you have to hold them in certain classes. And just, I can, the first time I finished one of the power yoga class, I was so proud of myself because I was like, oh, I've never been the super workout athletic person, but I made it and I did it. And I was very proud. So I don't know. And I like that it's not a super intensive exercise regime too. And it's really, you can modify it. It's friendly for everybody. I love how inclusive yoga is.
It's like a total body, mind,
Yes.
emotion workout, which is
Exactly.
very different, I think, from most other workouts. I can see that. I've not done it for reals. I've only done the 5 minute whatever thing. And I'm like, what is this? I must be in pain to work out. Old school. Right. I know. I have
Yeah.
issues, but no,
No,
sounds
probably why I like it more because it is more all encompassing. Whereas if I go to a gym or something, my mind has plenty of time to wander and think about everything under the sun. But in yoga, I'm actually focused on, am I doing the pose right? It's easier. I'm not always a track mind kind of person, but it helps put me in that, at least
yeah.
for the hour I'm in class.
No, I love that. So you've really stuck. What's really cool about that in particular, I know I've never told you this, is that you've stuck with that for so long. You're so religious about going to yoga and you make it a point to find it. And I've always admired that about you. I've never told you that, but I've always admired that. I thought that was really cool. You've so many things you're into that is so interesting. Another one, your F1. You travel for these races. I'd never heard of it really until the Netflix series of the
Yeah,
F1, which I think got a lot of people into F1. But prior
absolutely.
to that, you were already in it. Already in it.
Well, I
What
think,
and how?
yeah, I think technically the show had been out once before I got into the show, before I got into Formula One, but that's not the way, that was not my route. But my route was actually a book series I read. It was set in the Formula One world, obviously a very fictionalized version. And it was kind of hard for me to picture the setting. I had obviously watched a NASCAR race here and there growing up, but I didn't. So I could relate like maybe a couple of things, but they're very different sports, even though it's both race cars. So, and then I saw some edit on the internet on TikTok. I saw of a race driver. I was like, well, he looks cool. He looks fun,
Who
interesting.
was
He's Daniel Ricciardo.
Of course. That's
One
awesome.
of my all-time faves, Daniel Ricciardo. He got me into the sport naturally, as one does, and no longer races anymore. But I'm happy for him. No, I just then I realized, oh, it's on TV. I can watch Formula One. So I watched a race or two, and then it was really funny. My dad, actually, I guess when I was younger, he was a fan of Formula One. I wasn't. Obviously, I was younger. I didn't pay attention to that. Um, but he got out of it. I don't remember the reason why he stopped watching it. But right around the same time as I was getting into it on my own, he was also getting back into Formula One.
Oh, cool.
So then that became like I was at their house randomly one day and he was watching it. And I was like, oh, and I mentioned the driver. I had seen a thing and I was like, oh, he's the one I like. And my dad was really shocked. He's like, what? And then that just kind of became the basis of we bonded over it again. And I don't know, that's just pretty much what my dad and I talk about all the time now is Formula One.
Formula One.
Um,
But you're into sports. It's not just Formula One. And it's funny because a lot of people don't attribute women liking sports. They just don't. They think that women only like sports because their boyfriends, husbands, male coworkers, or whatever the fuck they're
or
thinking.
because the athlete is cute.
The athlete is cute. You don't give a crap what the athlete look. You are like about the sport and you've got your team, you've got your hockey, you've got your football. I don't think you're into basketball.
I enjoy watching a game when most sports I enjoy when I'm physically at a game. I watch it. I can get into it so much. I'll usually pick someone. I'll see it for somewhat random reason. Oh, I like that player. So that's who I'm rooting for in this game. That type of thing. Not based on their looks. It's just something like maybe, oh, this kid hit a 3-pointer. So let me root for him or something innocuous like that. But I can watch any sport. But certain sports, they just call to me and I want to watch them on a regular basis. But certain like baseball, basketball, I don't really watch those on television because I need to be in the atmosphere to really get into it. I like the camaraderie that sports creates in those atmospheres. Certain things will bring a whole community together. Actually, I think I was telling you about this the other day. One that really brought the Formula One community together, literally this past Sunday. A driver who has been in the sport for 15 years. He's done 239 races, never gotten a podium. He literally had the record for most race starts with no podium place finish. So first, second, or third. And after 15 years, with a 3-year stint of not having a team, so he wasn't even racing for 3 years of the 15, he finally got his podium at a team you wouldn't necessarily think is going to get a podium spot. It truly brought the entire F1 community together, rooting for this man to get his first podium after 15 years of perseverance and never giving up. And goodness, these edits that people are putting online are bringing tears to my eyes. A good sports moment when you're a true fan will make you cry, and I live by that.
No, I know because we were celebrating your birthday and it was a really good, I think, birthday present that randomly you're like, what? We're in the middle of riding roller coasters and you were losing your mind over this news. And I'm like, it's a special thing. I very much enjoy, it sounds creepy out loud when you say it, but I enjoy watching people enjoy things. That's something I enjoy deeply. So when I worked in a restaurant, that's why I loved working there because I would watch them eat food and I would watch the creep in the corner. I enjoyed that. So that particular day, I was enjoying watching you freak out over your phone.
He's not even like a driver I particularly like. I like him, but he's never been my favorite driver. But I was just so excited for him in that moment. He finally got his moment in the sun.
It's about the story.
Yes.
It's about the story. So that leads into the other big thing you're into. Huge into. There's so many. I think we could spend the entire episode talking about all the things that you are very into, and it's super, super cool. It's not defining you, but it's just things that bring you joy. Reading is one of those big ones. Oddly, and I only want to put it as a small disclaimer, because earlier you said you never viewed yourself as super strong. I always did, by the way, because of your ability to put furniture together. I hate it so much. And every time I put furniture together, it's usually a little bit wobbly or wonky. And I watched you put all this furniture together. So you were in the zone. You were just methodical about it. Barely even needed the instructions.
Meditative.
You did it. And I was like, wait a minute. She did it. I didn't do this. I've never viewed you as not strong because of your weird and amazing ability to put shit together. It's super cool. Detract. I just had to say that a little bit. That's another thing you like to do. If anybody's listening and needs something put together, call her.
Yeah.
But pair books. You're into reading. I've never seen, aside from now my neighbor next door, anybody that has as many books as you have that could that could go against Belle's library in Beauty and the Beast. That's
the dream. That library is the standard to meet.
When did you start reading, and why do you like reading still to this day?
Honestly, since birth, my parents would always read me books. My mom still jokes that my favorite book when I was really young was the Clifford Peekaboo book. She can still recite it.
That's good.
So that I've always loved books. And then once I started learning how to read, I was at the school, my elementary school library. I was in there every second I could, checking books in and out, going to our public library. My mom would take us at least every other week, if not every week, so I could get books and movies, because I also love watching movies too. I broke a few videos in my time from watching them, rewinding them, and watching them again. Any Gen Z listening, a video is a really old version. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. What a video or a tape recorder is. So it's okay. When you watch movies now, old movies, and it shows the person holding the video recorder or even a camera
on their shoulder. And
what is that? Right?
My family had one of those, and my dad would just be walking around with it on his shoulder. And
they don't understand how much technology has really exploded over the last, arguably, even 10 years. It's crazy if you look at movies just that. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's us. We always get on tangents. But no, I don't know. I loved reading. I love losing myself in a story. Helps me not necessarily forget about my real life for the moment, but just explore other lives and other worlds. Definitely, I would say the book that solidified my quote unquote bookworm status would have been when, third grade Harry Potter. I binged those. I think the first 3 had already come out. I read them so quickly. And then when the 4th one came out, I devoured it and then continued on with that. But I wasn't necessarily a huge fantasy book reader outside of the Harry Potter series for a long time. And so a few years ago, actually, is when I really started to get into more fantasy books. But not obviously like a young kid or young adult style, but like the more adult fantasy books where there's a lot more world building and a lot more nuance to the stories, I guess. Not that there aren't nuances in young adult books, but just more relatable to me where I'm at now as a 33-year-old instead of where I was as a kid reading books. But I just love getting lost in a story. I love character development. That's probably my biggest one. I'm not necessarily a plot person that cares about a plot-driven story. I like a character-driven story. So a whole lot of nothing can technically happen in the book, and I'll think, oh yeah, that's fascinating, just because I'm really getting into the mind of a character or multiple characters, how they tick, why they're reacting to this situation in that particular way. That's what I usually look for in a story. So I know I'm not plenty of people like that, but there are people that are more plot driven. So that would drive some of the books I read would probably drive them bonkers. But
no, very much err on your side. I do love a good plot.
Yeah, don't be wrong. A good plot.
I can't appreciate a plot if the characters aren't developing.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times I'll read a book and my biggest criticism, I feel like it's just there's not a lot of depth. I don't really understand the characters. It felt very surface level, even if the plot was fabulous or it pulled from source material, because everything borrows from everything else. So I read a book that was based off of one of my favorite movies, Roman Holiday, thinking, oh, this would be great. I love Roman Holiday. It's a classic story. But you really didn't get the character development throughout the story. It was how they were at the beginning of the story was mostly how they were at the end, with maybe a couple of tweaks. So it just wasn't my favorite, even though obviously I love the source material. But in Roman Holiday, there was a lot of character growth. So
I hate it when things don't match.
Yep.
One last thing, your knack for decorating. People don't know this about you until out you or they
Get invited to my house.
or they get invited to your house. They have no clue how good you are at decorating. They have like no idea. Again, you're like our colleague where I'm like, Mr. Calling, should have done that. But you've got 1,000,005 callings. So do what you like, but you're very good. I know you didn't study that in college. I know in college you studied a lot of different things, but not interior decorating. Why are you so good at it? Where did you learn it? Is this just you born with it? Maybe
Honestly,
it's
it feels like
your
dumb luck. Yeah. Or I just see something that catches my eye and I'm like, I like that. I think I can make that work and I'll just put it in my house. And it might just sit in a corner for a while until I have an epiphany for how something could work or look together. Maybe it comes from being chronically online as well. When Pinterest became a thing, I love just scrolling through Pinterest for a while. And so maybe just like absorbing a lot of that over the years. And again, I watch a lot of movies and television shows. So you get a lot of different ideas that way, even if you're not necessarily seeking them out subconsciously. If you're watching a television show with like the same sets, you're going to just start to put those things together in your head, I think.
No, that's just you. I get too absorbed in like other things. I don't pick up on them. That's why my house looks the way. No, I'm kidding.
And I just like things that are aesthetically pleasing. So
Yeah,
I mess around with things like not everything always works, but I feel like
it does in your house.
if it's a space I know I'm gonna be in for a while because like I'm slowly going through my house. Like my main floor is pretty much where I want it to be feel wise, so that I kind of neglected some other spots in my house that I now have to get to. But it's just a slow process. But I feel like that's the sign. It's like not rushing through a space either, because I feel like that's where a lot of people, not to like judge anyone in their taste, but if you're rushing through because you just want it to look like a picture perfect space, it's not really you. So I still feel like that's kind of empty and soulless in that case versus take your time to like pieces that either mean something to you or just express who you are. They don't necessarily have to mean anything to you, but just that just feel out your own vibe, I guess.
Which means you have to know yourself.
And not a lot of people know themselves. I'm still
Not a
working on
lot
it.
of people spend enough time to figure out what they like, what they're into, and really stay that course and know themselves. It's part of what birthed this whole podcast is losing yourself because life defines you instead of you defining you. How have you been able to remain so steady? Like you aren't somebody who lets life change you in a way that makes you no longer follow your own values and your core beliefs. You stay in your values and your core beliefs and you don't allow life to really shake you that way. I know it hits you, don't get me wrong, life hits everybody. But for you in particular, I've noticed you don't settle. You don't just walk away. Do you think you settle? You're making a face. I don't think you settle.
No, I don't think I settle. I think
A lot of people do. A lot of people, strong willed, weak willed, doesn't matter. A lot of people settle. You don't.
no, I don't think I settle. I think sometimes I have like ideas of grandeur and then I'm like, you know what? I try to be a little bit more realistic about some things. Like and I wouldn't call that settling. I'd call that, you know what? This is the time. This is what's it's not the time for my grant like for something that I'm dreaming of grandeur yet. I need to still work towards that. So I like take that back sometimes, but I wouldn't say I settle. I'm more, I feel like it comes a lot from having a lot of alone time. Like I'm an introvert very much so. So keeping to myself, that means I'm not necessarily letting other people's perceptions drive me.
It's your superpower. You use it as a superpower.
Like I love hearing other people's perspectives and where they're coming from and why they think what they think. But because I do have the time to like sit with myself, I'm not always itching to be around other people. I'm very happy with my own company. So I have a little time to reflect what I actually think about something. Like I might say something in the heat of the moment, but then when I have time to sit and reflect, I'm like, you know, that really doesn't. That's really not how I think about that situation. So, and I think again, I think it goes back to my love of reading. Is I've been able to expose myself to other thoughts and ideas and belief systems. So I just kind of helped build my own because I had the time to like go through those journeys through someone else's mind to help me decipher my own.
I think it's just brilliant. I study people because that's my favorite thing to do is study
And
people.
you're so good at it.
Well, I study my friends too. I study everybody. And whether I say it out loud or not, because I'm an ambivert. So I recharge introvertedly, but I'm a very extroverted, loud person when I'm with people, and I can tend to dominate and troll. Control's not the right word.
I wouldn't say the word
Dominate. I tend to dominate, and I tend to dominate every space that I get into. I can sense people's weaknesses very quickly, and my nature wants to dominate. You
Hey, Darwinism in a nutshell, right there.
are bad. It's so, but I'm a healed version of that now.
Yes.
But what I've noticed is when I can sense other people are also strong, they just quiet. I tend to give space to that. And I would argue a million times over, you are one of those people. You are quiet in group settings, very quiet, but you are very strong. And people tend to overlook that or mistake you for not being as important as you should be in a room. And it's what's so funny is the other people in the room that are like me recognize that in you very quickly. And so they just, everybody knows, treat Tabitha with the same level of respect. It's crazy to me when people see you, approach you, or however many times we go out, they just don't see you the right way, and you don't care. Like you just walk up and you just get upset for you. I get so mad, and you're just like, "It. Who cares?" Like
I'm not there. I'm not their cup of tea, and that's fine.
I'm okay not being. I expect to not be people's cup of tea. I don't like it when I see other people treated that way. It's a problem. But I would argue that for you, and I would also argue just because I know you that maybe that's how it's been your whole life.
Yeah. I mean, don't
Not
I
with
can
your family, but
no, no, not with family or like close friends or anything. But yeah, I tend to I'm not I can get chatty in certain settings, don't get me wrong, but I'm not necessarily in a group setting trying to fight for the attention or to like, force myself into a conversation. If it naturally happens, it naturally happens. But I'm not like going out of my way to, I don't know, make a certain impression on other people, especially if I don't know them. So yeah, I would say probably I get overlooked over the years, but usually it's by
but,
people that
but
I
only
don't
by people
necessarily
that
know.
don't matter.
Yeah, like it's not people. Like I also think I'm a pretty good read on people. So the people that ignore me, they're not ones that I get a good vibe from anyway.
Yeah, they don't matter to your life story. I just think it's really cool that you're able to, again, stay very strong and steady in your character and you don't let other people shake or move you. And I think that's really important for people to learn if they can, or at least learn that they need to learn it. So, in interest of time, as I always do, end every episode the same. What piece of advice can you give to people that are listening? As every episode goes, the whole episode's pretty
Yeah.
much advice. But but maybe it's a mantra you live by. Just something that you can pass along.
I would say always have an open mind. That's because I like you said, I am pretty steadfast in my beliefs, but it doesn't stop me from trying to understand another perspective. Or if it's something even I staunchly don't agree with, I still want to hear why they think what they think. Because maybe there's a reason for that. That just always have that open mind, just learn something new, try something new, because you could find a new hobby way later in life that you didn't realize that would take over your whole life, like me with Formula One,
Yeah.
where you're traveling the world and you're making new friends because of this. So don't ever just like let yourself get stuck. If you feel stuck, I don't know, try to seek something new out.
Yeah, you can unstuck yourself. We're gonna coin that. Unstuck
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, unstuck yourself.
Stuck
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, unstuck yourself.
What strikes me most about this conversation with Tabitha is her quiet strength and the way she's cultivated such a rich inner life. Her advice to always have an open mind while staying steadfast in your beliefs feels like wisdom we all need right now. It's that rare combination of being rooted in who you are while remaining curious about the world around you. I'm particularly moved by how Tabitha has learned to be comfortable with her own company and use that introvert superpower to really reflect on what she thinks and feels in a world that often rewards the loudest voice in the room. There's something powerful about watching someone who's perfectly content to let their actions and characters speak for themselves. Her reminder that you can unstuck yourself by trying something new, like how Formula One completely changed her world, is such a beautiful example of staying open to unexpected passions of any stage of life. Sometimes the things that end up bringing us the most joy are the ones we never saw coming. For those of you who feel overlooked or underestimated, maybe Tabitha's story is permission to recognize that the people who matter will see your worth, and the ones who don't simply aren't your people anyway. If today's conversation inspired you to consider how you might unstuck yourself or stay truer to your own values, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, She Suite Society exists to amplify women's voices from all walks of life, proving that strength comes in many different forms. Until next time, this is your host, Dahlia, reminding you that your life is your message to the world. Why not make it extraordinary?